leap of faith on yourself. And if you're willing to put in the work, you can be successful like most other fields. This is the beauty of entrepreneurship in this country. You can open a company, and if you're willing to put in the work and you're doing the right things, you can be successful. And most millionaires, their fortunes were built in real estate.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table podcast. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh. And joining us on this episode, I'm excited to talk to him, pick his brain. We are joined by Matthew Ascindio Wallace. What's going on, Matt?
Man, how are you doing, Kevin? I'm feeling great today.
Man, I'm feeling the same, man. Thank you. Your energy is bouncing off of me through the camera. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and accepting our invitation to be here, sir. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're here to talk real estate. I want to know what's going on in your market. I don't think I talked to too many agents where you are. But before we get into that, I like to talk to the person on the other side of the camera. So if you can, in 60 seconds or less, Matt, tell us who you are outside of real estate.
Okay, well, outside of real estate, I'm a family man. I'm a father. I just had a baby girl, 6-month-old.
Congratulations.
I'm a foodie. Houston has one of the best food scenes in the country, so I love to eat. I'm also a passionate dog owner. I own a husky, which might be a little odd in Houston, but I have a great husky. And first and foremost, I'm a Houstonian, and I know Houston.
Nice, a Houstonian. Is that a real thing? Is that what you call
each
other?
That's a real thing. That's what they call us. We're Houstonians.
Ooh, I love that. Nice, man. So Houston, Texas, we are going to dive into that market. I can't wait. That's one of the places I've always wanted to visit, but haven't made it there yet. So let's talk about the profession of real estate, your business specifically. I just want you to describe it for our audience and for myself, obviously. If you're able to hit on a few key points, please do. How long you've been licensed, your any notable achievements, and or your niche or specialty, please.
Okay. Well, I've been licensed since 2015. I'm a full-time real estate agent here in Houston, Texas. I work for EXP Realty, one of the biggest brokerages in the country. I'm an EXP Icon agent, which means I'm the top 1% of my company. I specialize in helping people buy, invest, sell, lease, commercial. I do it all. So anything you need help with, I'm there for. And more recently, I'm doing a lot of mentoring of young agents. So that's what I'm passionate about. I'm really passionate about helping agents get through the fire of real estate, because everyone wants to get a real estate license, but a lot of people don't realize how difficult real estate actually is.
There's some statistics that I read that I was discussing, like the beginning, I think like the first 3 years are like the hardest part for most agents starting off. That's where a lot of agents fall off. But you've had some information that we're going to dig into in regards to that and what you just mentioned. So thank you for mentioning that. We will dig deeper into that. But great to hear that you are actually putting in the work to go out, reach back, and help those agents in need who are in a position that you were in once upon a time. I can always respect that, man. So let's talk about where you are. You already said Houston, Texas. I've never been to Houston, Texas, so I want you to describe it for people like me who may have never been to your market. If you're able to describe the people, the culture, the weather, the environment, landmarks, attractions, things to do, please.
Okay, so Houston, Texas is located on the Gulf Coast. We call it the Third Coast. It's the fourth largest city in the U.S. We've got 2.2 million people in the city of Houston, 7.2 in the Metroplex. So it's a massive city. We have all the NBA team. We have all the sports teams, NBA, NFL, MLB, great museums, art, restaurants, bars. We have everything that you could possibly want. It's a great place to raise a family. Really, the only downside is in the summer, it does get incredibly hot and it's incredibly humid. So last year, we averaged around 100 degrees for the whole summer. So that was tough. But as far as cost of living, man, you cannot find a bigger, better city with the cost of living that we have. It's a very low cost of living city. And so that affords people a great lifestyle. So you can live in Houston, get a great job, work, and then still have time to travel, spend time with the friends and enjoy life.
Oh, that sounds so good. As you was describing, I just took myself there for a second. But this is a question I have to ask. Here's another rumor about Houston I heard. I want you to clarify. Is the traffic really that bad?
The the traffic's really not that bad when you compare it to a big city like in LA and Atlanta or New York or
I knew
Chicago.
you were gonna say
It's
that.
not
Yep.
as bad as people want it to make it out to
Yep.
be. Now again, if you're from a rural area and you're not used to traffic, it might be significant. But
Yeah.
for anyone who's
Yep.
lived in a major city, especially on the coast, that our traffic is very
Mm-hmm.
light. You can
I
travel
knew that.
outside of peak business hours and get where you need to go very easily.
That's what's up. That's good. Because that was one of the things I heard, but I was like, how is it compared to LA or Atlanta or Chicago or something like that? Like those, or New York, that's when the traffic gets crazy. Houston, like I said, I've never been there, but I've heard the rumors. So
Yeah,
thanks for
not as
putting that
bad.
in perspective for us. Yeah. All right, so let's get into the economics, the data, real estate when it comes to your market also. Give us as much as you can. What's the average list price, sale price, days on the market, any information you can give us to let us know how the real estate market is looking in Houston?
Okay, so the average sales price in the city is 404,000. That's the average price in the city. Now, when you look at that compared to the coast, you're talking about that same property would be 800 to 900,000. So once again, we're talking about very affordable. Days on the market, you're looking at about 43 days. So that's not bad. That means your house is going to sell relatively quickly. When I got into real estate back in 2015, days on the market was around 65 days. So there's an appetite to purchase homes in Houston, especially with people coming from more expensive areas who want a better quality of life. As far as prices, they've been prices went up 1%, so pretty flat, nothing crazy. But when you look at a market like in Austin or some of these other cities where you had the property values double, we didn't really experience that, which is good because people can still go out right now, even though interest rates might be not as good as they've been in the past. People can still come out here in Houston and get a great place to live.
Yeah. So you said the price has increased by 1%. Is that year over year, month over month?
That's year over year.
Over
That's year over year
wow,
since
okay.
last year. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Days on the market, you say about 43 right now compared to what, like 65 when you started off in 2015.
That's correct.
Has that decreased since what, the pandemic 2020? I'm assuming it has.
Increased.
Or increased, I should say. Okay, there you
It's
go.
increased.
Right.
So since 2020, with interest rates being very low, what happened is sellers got accustomed to very low interest rates, very affordable favorable terms from the bank, and which made the real estate market move very quickly. Lots of people were buying houses. Right. Everyone's buying houses. Everyone was selling their house, was getting to multiple offers, getting the bag. So real estate was fun during that time. But now what we've seen is the federal government has been making changes in order to slow the speed of the real estate market to allow people to afford buying a home. Because buying a home is part of the American psyche. It's the American dream. You know, people want to purchase homes. And so what we're 100%. Finding, and so 100%. That's what we do. We help people find homes. And what's going to happen, as far as I don't have a crystal ball, but by every indication, it looks like interest rates are going to be getting a little bit lower this year, and so people are going to be coming back to the market, and homes are going to be selling.
You must have saw what I was writing down. It was going to be, what are your predictions for the upcoming year? But yeah, man, it's so funny that you say that. I literally almost verbatim hear that same thing from most guests that talks about the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but like, I get it. I think we saw some news, some things that recently came out that pretty much talks about where the interest rates could possibly be in 2024, right? They say they're expecting them to drop at least 3 times from what I'm hearing. So we don't necessarily know, but I mean, I'll say this. We know what they put out there, but as far as how the consumer will react to it is a completely unpredictable type of activity and attitude. So I completely understand that. I found some information I need you to help me with about Houston and the fact that they are one of the few municipalities that has little to no zoning laws. You have to correct me on this. Is that true? And how does that affect current and potential homeowners in their decision to either purchase or alter their home?
So that is true within the city of Houston. That's true. So what you need to work with a knowledgeable agent when you're looking to purchase property in Houston. What happens is with Zillow and a lot of the online information, someone can go on the computer, find a property and say, oh, I love this property. I want to buy this property. But they're not aware of the factors taking place on a with a micro view. So for example, you might find an amazing home. You purchase the home, and 6 months later, there's an apartment complex being built directly in front of your house. This happens all the time. So you might have an amazing view, apartment complex goes up, your view's gone.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Man, that's perspective right there. Because you know what? I want to talk about it. Because when I saw that, I was thinking, man, that's good. Because to my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you can purchase a home, and depending on what you want to do, you can just add a garage or add certain things to your own property, right? And you don't necessarily have to go get it checked out with the city, correct?
Well,
But then, like you said,
you need
okay,
permits.
go ahead,
so that's the thing. You do need permits.
Of course. Okay.
So,
excuse me.
While you can't do anything, you do have options. Like, for example, if you wanted to run a business out of your home, a lot of times in certain neighborhoods, you're not allowed to run a business because it might violate the HOA rules. But here in Houston, you could, say, for example, you had a business in the front of your house and you lived in the back. That's totally fine. And also, in regards to your recent remark, the city of Houston they just went through some paperwork to allow ADUs, which are accessory dwelling units, meaning you could put something behind your house. That was a process that just took place. So that's new for Houston. You can now build an accessory unit behind your house if you want some extra rental income, or you want to do the Airbnb thing. That's all possible now.
Wow. What a market to be in, Houston. Wow. So yeah, that's zoning, or lack thereof of the zoning laws there. That makes it a whole nother ball game. Like you said, you can live in an area that you think you have a great view, you have great land, then all of a sudden someone builds an apartment complex, a skyscraper, or just some type of establishment right in the area where you were enjoying for the most part. I could see that being a give and a take, a pro and a con, depending on where you are in that process or in that transaction. So thank you for clarifying and adding perspective to that. When I saw that, I said, whoa, I know it's different down there. But
yeah, and things can change within a block, man. So sorry to interrupt, but you could go through, go drive one block in Houston and everything changes. You can go from the nicest neighborhood to one of the worst neighborhoods in a blink of an eye.
You know, that's a lot more common than I think people necessarily think, because that's me being from Detroit, I see that often. Even a few other places. You can drive through one neighborhood. It could be on the same street. Drive through one neighborhood, luxurious places, landscaping is beautiful. You continue on that same street, you'll go into poverty. You'll just end up right in poverty. So I get it, but I can definitely see how the lack of zoning laws can make that a completely different perspective right there also. You offering personalized services to your clients. This I want to talk about a little bit more, because personalized is kind of vague a little bit. So could you recount a story where your actual ability to understand what your client needed specifically actually helped them get the home that they actually needed?
Absolutely. So I had a client, this was a couple years ago, but this was when this was back in 2021, the market was pretty competitive. So what I mean is, if a good house hit the market, a lot of times it was going to be multiple offers and it was going to go off the market within a weekend. This particular house that we found, I call it a showstopper. This was one of those houses that sell no matter what market you're in, up, down. People will buy this house because of the unique factor. And it was a beautiful house, great neighborhood, pool, good schools. I mean, it hit the whole list. So my client wanted to go see the house, and we were having trouble getting an appointment to see the house. And so I said, okay, well, I guess we'll have to wait to see the house. I go on a walk with my dog. I'm about a mile away from my house. And the agent calls me and says, hey, I've got an opening right now. You've got 30 minutes to get to the house. So that puts me in a situation because I'm nowhere near my car or my house. So I literally ran back to my house, called my client. Hey, look, I'll meet you at the house. Go to the house now. And I ran a mile, from walking my dog back to my house, jumped in the car, drove, just didn't even have time to change. No presentation, man. Sweaty, a wreck, hair looking crazy, pulled up to the house, showed the house. And long story short, we were the first people to see the house, and we ended up getting that house.
Ooh, good job.
And my client still remembers that. He thinks it's the funniest thing that I had to run a mile to go show him this house, but it was worth it.
Right. Remember when you showed up to the house and you're sweating and everything with your dog?
That's right.
That's good. Hey, but that's going above and beyond. You could have brushed it off like, now's not a good time. I'm not going to make it. You put it first. You put your professionalism first and your client's needs first. And that's what we were talking about. I love that right there, man. I love seeing stuff. Talking about you being an EXP icon. I've heard a few agents, or I believe I've had a few agents on that were that actually received this award and recognition too. Can you talk about how this transaction from being an icon agent with EXP Realty, how that transaction influenced your approach or expanded your ability to provide these services to your clients?
So becoming an icon agent for me gave me validation in the eyes of my peers. Because as I said, I
Mm-hmm.
had been doing this since 2015. I worked at a different office before, and I had won several awards working at Keller Williams at the time, which was a great
Mm-hmm.
office. But EXP, during the pandemic, when a lot of the country was shut down, depending on where you lived, EXP, we were still going because we were cloud-based brokerage. So we didn't have to go to the office. So while a lot of agents, depending on where they were, had to stop business, we worked the whole time. And Texas specifically had pretty loose COVID laws. I was quoted in Bloomberg as talking about
I
this.
did hear about that.
The
Yeah.
It's just we were closed for 2 weeks and it was back to business. So EXP, the Icon Award was a big thing for me, and that also carries a lot of weight now when I interact with clients, because in Houston there's 60,000 agents. So you always have to look at separation. How do I separate myself from all these other agents? And that's how you do it. You do it with
Correct.
awards, recognition, reviews, and I'm very focused on giving that same personal level of service despite my accolades and despite how much success I may have. I still have my clients call me, text me. Like, you're not going to be
Right.
pushed off to an assistant. I'm going to take care of things.
I love that, man. 60,000 agents in one market is crazy. That is a small population of a town. And you're just talking about actual agents. Whoa, first and foremost. I want to ask you about that icon award. Is that something that you were striving to achieve, that recognition, or were you just putting in the work blindly and you looked up and you were recognized for that award?
It was a combination of both. I knew the award existed, and I'm a competitor. So I look at eyes on the prize. I saw that it was something. And like you said, I just put my head down and did what I did. So that wasn't my focus. My focus was just to be the best agent I could be. And I got to where I was trying to get to. So it worked out perfectly.
I love that, man. I love that. I kind of figured you were going to give that answer like, man, I was just doing my work. And, like you said, you knew the award exists. It's like playing in sports or something like professional sport. You know the MVP award exists, but you may not even necessarily strive to get it, but you're just putting that work, working hard every day. You look up, you're a nominee, then you actually get it. So I respect that and honor that, man. That's good. I mean, you're not necessarily focused on the materialistic, tangible things, even though it shows proof of success. It just shows that you're more interested in the work.
That's correct, man. And so just like you said, with sports teams, you don't seek the individual award, you seek the team championship. So that's how it is.
That's
I'm
a
looking
fact.
for,
That's
and
a
that my
fact.
team are my clients. So every win that they get, that puts
Ooh,
me closer to my goal, but also I'm accomplishing their goals as well. So that's how I look at things.
my clients are part of my team. I like that perspective. I like that. I like that. That's nice right there. You said the failure rate for most new agents, 93%. That is natural selection, weeding out the weak, if you want to say that in a way. Let's talk about that. Why do you think this is the case from your personal perspective?
So, from my perspective, the reason why most agents fail is that they don't come to this business as a sales job. They think it's like TV. It's a lot of the glamour of HGTV. Everyone thinks, hey, I'm going to
Oh,
drink this martini. Someone's going to call and want to buy 12 properties, and I'm going to take the summer off. And it doesn't work like that. So, I
mm-hmm.
came from the background of selling Rolex. I sold Rolex for 8 years before I got into real estate. So, I was selling Rolex, Patek Philippe, timepieces is what I sold. So, high end timepieces, that's what got me into real estate, because the company I worked for was actually going to close the Houston store. So I said, wow, I need to get a new job. And my thought process was, well, if I could sell a $75,000 Rolex, I could probably sell a house. And
Whew.
so that's what I did. That was the plan of attack.
Man, I have a friend who just got into the timepiece thing. That's a whole nother market, whole nother world right there. For you to make the correlation between the two, if I could sell an expensive, luxurious watch, I could sell a home. I wouldn't make that connection. It just takes a certain special individual, a leader, an innovator like yourself, who will put those correlations together. I don't even necessarily consider myself a good sales person, quote unquote, even though I think nowadays most people who are in sales don't consider themselves a salesperson per se. But nonetheless, I don't necessarily see myself as that. until I actually have to do it. But for you to say, this is my lane, I know this is a skill that I'm advanced in, I'm going to take it from this to something completely different, scaled up in a way. If we're being honest, you scaled up, and now you're doing transactions way bigger than that. That kind of leads me into my second question a little bit. What are you actually doing to help these agents overcome that statistic of 93% failure rate?
So what I do is at EXP, I am a mentor. So I mentor young agents. When you join the company and you don't have any real estate experience, or you're trying to boost your production, they'll link you up with me or another mentor at the company, and we help you get through those growing pains. We give you the knowledge that we've acquired. And so while getting a real estate license is one aspect of the real estate process, you don't have the experience. And that's where I come in. So I'm giving people my experiences. I'm helping them get through some of the hurdles I might have gone through. And that's helping them to hopefully stay in real estate, because no one comes into the real estate field to quit. They didn't leave their job. They didn't bring their finances, and some cases retirement, to start a career that they're going to fail in. That's not the plan, but somewhere they went off track. And so I'm trying to keep agents on track, and I'm trying to help people get that success if that's what they want.
Why does that matter to you? Other agents' success.
Well, there's an abundance of opportunity in real estate. So it's not a zero-sum game where if I'm successful, someone else isn't. There's so much real estate because real estate is everywhere. And so if you're taking the leap of faith on yourself, and if you're willing to put in the work, you can be successful like most other fields. This is the beauty of entrepreneurship in this country. You can open a company, and if you're willing to put in the work and you're doing the right things, you can be successful. And most millionaires, their fortunes were built in real estate.
Yes, absolutely. We've heard that time and time again. Yeah, it's one of the entries, one of the most popular entryways to wealth in American history. I think just in history, period. But I'm not that knowledgeable to really go that far. But well said right there. I'm glad. And I asked you that question because I feel like it's important. A lot of people in general say, hey, I want to help people. I think helping people is good. Here, if we break down that, just saying I want to help people, umbrella phrase or whatever the case may be. How are you helping people? Is the help you're giving people are they actually comprehending it? Do they understand? How do you know they actually comprehend and understand? And why do you even want to help people? Why is it in your interest? Not saying it, towards you, but just in general, that's my thought when people say, I want to help people. Well, why? How? And all these other types of things. But you addressed that. I'm glad you did, because it gives people more context, our audience specifically, as to why does he just want to help other agents? Most of them are failing. Like, why do you even want to get involved? It makes more competition for you. So the what you brought into that and how you explained it, I think we can all necessarily agree with. At least I can agree with that.
Yeah. And I would say, take it back to looking at business like a sport. The more players doesn't really matter, because as long as I do what I'm doing, I'm not concerned with what someone else might be doing. And I welcome the competition. So if I can help someone improve and they want to compete against me, let's go.
Yeah, I had to applaud that. That shows confidence. A lot of respect right there, man. That shows confidence. I don't care. Let them in. I'm still going to do my job, and I'm going to achieve what I'm going to achieve. Absolutely. I love that right there, man. I love that. Some hook points that I found that you kind of like, promote, right? You said, turn dreams into addresses, and I know Houston. You started off this interview talking about how much you know Houston. You're a Houstonian. Did I say that right?
That's right. Houstonian.
I said it right. All right, cool. So let's discuss a time where you actually did help someone turn their dream into an address, and maybe an example of someone coming from out of town, out of state, or even out of country into the Houston market. Talk about that process.
Okay. So I have a great example of that. I had a client who moved from Toronto to Houston. She'd never been to Houston before. She accepted a job, and she called me up and said, hey, I want to look for a home, and this is what I'm looking for. So we figured out, okay, this is where you're going to work. These are some great areas. And we started touring these areas. And some of the things that we touched on before, we went to some areas where the price point was high, but she didn't like the optics of the neighborhood, some of the zoning stuff. It's like, okay, I don't really like this place. And a lot of the stuff I did virtually. This is before the pandemic. So this was on my phone, doing walkthroughs of the homes. And I showed her a lot of homes, and she found one she wanted. Here's where it gets good. The property that she selected had a rooftop deck, great view of downtown Houston. But unfortunately, it had been leaking. So when we ran an inspection on the property, we found out that the property had a lot of issues. And actually, I advised her not to purchase this particular property because of the issues that were present. And she was still wanting to purchase the property. She said, "No, don't worry, I'll take care of it. It's not a big deal." Well, I found out later from that agent that those repairs on that property were over $40,000. $40,000 in repairs.
Whoa. Okay.
Now, we did end up getting another property, which was great. We got her another property. And just recently, last summer, she moved back to Toronto. She called me and said, "Hey, Matt, I'm moving back, sell my house." And that's what I did. Sold her house, made her a nice little profit, and she went back to Canada.
Wow.
So it went full circle.
Wow. That was a lot, man. First off, so she came there, stayed there for a few years, made her money. You know, obviously her property, appreciated and sold and got a good return on her investment. But $40,000, that's what stood out to me. I said, whoa. Because, I mean, I get it. The roof is one of the most expensive things to repair. But when you said that, I was like, 40 for a roof? But I'm like, you did say it was leaking, so I'm pretty sure it's probably some internal damage also that needed to be fixed. That's the worst. And look at you, actually. Even though she wanted the home, you still, hey, I don't think this is good. It's $40,000. It's a significant portion of the purchase price. Maybe let's look somewhere else.
We did, and at the time, we didn't know it was $40,000, man. They were saying it was 10, 15.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. You see how significantly large that sum is? Yeah, you did the right thing. Kudos to you for that one. But I know that took a little bit of convincing because most agents, well, all agents, for the most part, you're there for whatever the client is interested in, right? So for you the client being very interested in that property, you saying, let's kind of scale back, look at something I'm not too sure about necessarily. Excuse me. I'm not too sure about necessarily that property. It doesn't look like it's actually worth it. And then for you to actually say that and it conveys to the actual client, that I can understand that takes a lot, is what I will say, a lot of knowledge to pass towards your client. Excuse me. So I want you to just reflect on your career, thinking about some things. Can you share a memorable experience where your commitment to customer satisfaction went beyond the actual sale? Maybe you have a long-lasting friendship today or anything like that.
Well, I've had a lot of long-lasting friendships in real estate because for me, it's very important, even more so with people that I know. A lot of people won't work with their friends who are real estate agents because of the lack of professionalism, the lack of results, or even just there's a general distrust that the person is going to be taking it easy. They're not going to take it seriously. And so for me, I do even more when it's someone I know. But one particular instance stands out in mind. I had a client who was from Germany, and she had a special needs daughter. And so I helped her when she in Houston find her first property. And first I sold her house, then we got another property. And it was important for her to be very close to her daughter's school because the daughter was special needs. So she had to go to this specific school. So we were able to find a house in the neighborhood that she liked. We were able to negotiate good price. So she was able to have the money that she didn't have a whole lot of money. So she needed to be able to have reserves to do some modifications to the house, but yet at the same time, still be able to provide a safe home for her daughter. Well, about 2 years ago, she called me and she said, "Matt, I'm moving back to Germany because in Germany, they'll take care of my daughter. The government offers a lot more assistance in taking care of a special needs child." So she came to me and she said, "Hey, I'm leaving in 3 weeks. So you pretty much got 3 weeks to sell this house." And we were able to sell the home. I sold the home. She actually the home closed after she was already gone. So I did all the paperwork, sent everything to her email, and we ended up getting the deal done. But she was already gone and out of the country.
Ooh, wow. Now that's putting in work. That's great thing. And that's also, that kind of ties back into what we were talking about before. You actually paying attention to your client and what they actually need, their personalized needs, and you actually going in and doing whatever you have to do to accommodate that. You know, that, like I said, that just speaks to your character and just speaks to your skill set, because not everyone will be there to necessarily execute that, especially within that time frame. Also 3 weeks. And in a market or in a time where a lot of homes are taking, what you said, like 43 days to sell and some things like that. So that's great work right there. Well done. Lastly, before we get out of here, I just want to ask you, what do you feel like is the hardest thing in real estate? The hardest, I'm trying to figure out how to say it. What do you feel like is the most challenging aspect? There we go. The most challenging aspect of real estate today and in your market, reflecting on your career.
I think the most challenging aspect of real estate is we help people make very critical life decisions. And I think a lot of people really take that lightly. For example, you know, if you, in the instance with the lady who purchased the home and it needed the repairs, if I had said, sure, just go ahead and buy the house, it'll be fine. She's now looking at $40,000 in repairs. In the instance with the woman who had to take her child back to Germany, if I don't do my job correctly, she ends up in Germany with a house here that has to be sold. And in many cases, it might not have gotten sold. So I think people don't understand the gravity of what we do, and it's taken lightly because what they see on TV. But the decisions that I make and the advice that I give to my clients is invaluable, and it could have life-changing ramifications if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't do my research, if I'm not knowledgeable about what they're dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly, man. And that thing, what you said about real estate agents and what they have this idea of what real estate is based off HGTV and platforms like that. It's no shade to those platforms because they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's entertainment nonetheless. But at the same time, to look at something that's on television, that's produced in a production, and think of that as being translating that into real life, it's going to set you up for failure and disappointment nonetheless. So I want to applaud you again for actually going out there, reaching out to agents who are in the position that you were in, helping them, giving them the game that you wish you would have had if you were in their position also. So thank you again for even pulling up a chair, Matthew. We appreciate you for taking time sharing knowledge on the closing table. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. So as you know, I'm here in Houston, Texas. I'm a Houstonian and I know Houston. So I'm here. My website's www.iknowhouston.com. So reach out. I'm here for whatever you need.
Appreciate that, Matt. Thank you again for being here. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got to this point in the video, do us both a favor, hit the like button, please, and thank you. Make sure you also share the content, subscribe. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Matthew, on the way out the door, I always like to leave our audience with a question. So this is for you, audience. What law, rules, or regulations in your city benefit you the most as a homeowner, real estate agent, or investor? And how do you take advantage of it? Don't tell us right now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.